Oh, my gosh.
That was actually not me. At first, I was like,
not
why
giving.
is that peaking? I'm like, nope, that's not me.
All right, are we back to normal?
Holy mackerel.
That was a bit of a hot mic
I don't know if I'll ever be
situation.
the same. Are you talking? I can't hear anything. I can't hear.
Bootsy, like 2 years from now, Dad, I need some Dunk Lows on StockX. What?
Huh? Can't hear you.
What?
By the way, Bryce, speaking of sneakers real quick, Bryce got first. We did a little sneaker shopping the other day. He got some Greek Freaks.
Nice.
That are sweet. They're white with kind of like a cool green and black. And then he picked up, we got matching of these bad boys from StockX. But, as we've talked about, having some issues. My slip-ons, they're the best. These ones, but in like a Volt and black and white. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's a real treat.
I had to, the blonde wanted NBC to have something that was black that he could slip on that was easy. So I picked up a pair of Epic Reacts. Which
they're great.
And he was like, I don't think he understands like that they're cool because they were out like 4 years ago.
They're great.
I'm like, I'm telling you, dude, like this is like an Ultra Boost. Like this will be the most comfortable shoe. Like we can talk about all the other stuff, whether it's Air Maxes and in various colorways, in various iterations, Jordans. You can do the same thing with Dunk Lows. But if you're talking about the most comfortable shoe you can wear, it's an Epic React, a Huarache if it's the right one, and it's the Ultra Boost.
Yep.
That's it. That's the list.
That's the list.
That's the way you go on that. And anything else, you're sacrificing comfort for style. That's where we're at on that.
That's right.
Yeah. Cold again today, and then we got warm.
Then we're
coming
better.
in for the weekend.
We're in our vests though. We're living our best.
We are vested up.
We are.
It's great vest weather.
How about the fact that we didn't talk about this?
And we both wore black vests.
Yeah,
stunning.
correct.
And I could have actually worn that quarter zip. That was the great. I mean, what a moment that was coming back from the combine to see that just sitting on our seats, folded, ready.
It's great.
Let's think about this for a second. If you think about the Brad Mellon Pursuit of Excellence Award, like he did that. Now he did it at the behest.
That's right.
Of the HBC.
That's right.
But at the same time, like that was a quick turnaround. Like we've been working on hoodies for 2 years and have gotten nowhere. And in fact, have almost gone backwards. To the point where at some point I felt like there was some hope. Now I think there's none.
I'm being mocked in Atlanta as he's wearing a white. The only time it's ever been seen, like Moby Dick, the white whale.
Yeah, it's one of them. And now because that one's out there, it's going to end up on somebody's.
I don't believe
it's going to be on Kay Adams' show.
No
She's
way.
me wearing a white one. That's the way that's going to work.
Up in Adams. No.
All it takes is one, and you're done. You're cooked.
No, it needs to be.
So that's why the color that we are now pursuing shall not be named.
Yes. Correct.
That way, so when we unload it on the world,
it's going to be incredible. It's
an
incredible moment.
Are you aware that today is the sports solstice?
I was not aware of that. I don't even.
Everything goes today. NHL, Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, all the pro sports, even MLS, all of them go today.
College football.
Is there college football tonight? There is some games?
There is. It's Thursday night.
Did you guys see the ratings on the baseball? So it depends on how you want to view them.
Okay.
So their ratings were up. Baseball's ratings were up for the NLDS. In fact, they were up like 59%. Did a great number here locally for the NLDS year to year. However, that's the glass is half full. The glass is half empty is the ALDS average rating between the two series, or average viewership, was 3.8 million. Which is similar to like Iowa, Michigan State football.
Which is a middle of the road.
Very middling college football game on a Saturday. Where, by the way, it's also competing against all the other college games on a Saturday.
And
like, if you think about the window.
By the Commies and the Bears.
Commies and the Bears did 9 million last Thursday.
Smoked them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. That sport, and yet it's so bandwagonable. When the Guardians were making my run, like my wife, who hasn't seen a pitch all year, was like, the world had to stop so we could watch Guardians games. And I'm like, what do you care? Like, you're not invested in this team. You haven't watched this. But it's Cleveland, damn it. So she's all in. I'm like,
and playoff baseball's fun.
It is. It is fun.
My wife stayed up, and my wife does not stay up for things. Like,
but
Sunday
she was
night,
in.
We went to my buddy was hosting a party, the Great Cole.
There's two Coles?
There's two Coles? There's another great Cole?
He's the one who got you those hats, the hooligan
Oh,
hats.
I love those hooligan hats. Yeah, those are great. So when Cole left for Minnesota, and
he was the great Cole. He is the great Cole.
I understand.
Now there are two.
Now retires to the northern beaches of Florida. At what point? Why didn't we just have the other Cole come in on a Friday and just act like he was Cole?
Great question.
It's a great question. I don't have an answer for you. He would have held his own. I don't think he was as good as the legendary Cole. As a human,
look at this vest. Another vest. Look, it's vest weather. Yeah, he's got it. And a swacket.
Let's go. Swacket weather.
He had it. That's
swag.
Did you see the quilted? It was a quilted green swacket that he had on. Quilted.
I mean, big L's. It's
big L's.
Unbelievable. We were aligned with big L. Yeah.
Of course we are.
Yeah. It's a good job. Yeah. You go with the little black vest. It's a win. Have I ever told you the greatest example of? I suppose it's kind of like when we steal stories. We used to do this thing when I was
do that?
Never. We used to do this thing down in Columbus when I was on television down there. We do the. It was like I worked at the CBS affiliate. We do this wall-to-wall sports shootout. So we'd get celebrities and play golf at like Muirfield or Double Eagle, and we would film it over the course of a day.
You should have invited me, didn't I?
I didn't
toss.
know you.
I did a toss to you on wall-to-wall.
I think you did.
That was wall-to-wall sports.
If I knew you now, I would have you come in. So the team would have
been great.
Which would have been great because you could have had the kid caddy for you because it was Buckeyes versus non-Buckeyes is the way we set it up. So you could have been a heel and played against former Buckeye, the former Buckeye greats that would have been in the mix. And you and the kid, I think that could have been a win.
Yeah, it would have been a great win.
So it was,
and we probably would have beat him in golf.
Yeah, there was some. You're very, very good. Some of these dudes were
like
in
pros?
Your world. No, but in your world.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
in your world. So there would have been some guys that you would have went head-to-head with and had to be at your best. Hockey and baseball players, I find, are very, very good at golf. Especially ones who played at the professional level.
Yeah. Turns out.
So we were doing one of these. We were at Columbus Country Club, and Brandon Dubinsky was a player for the Blue Jackets of some notoriety, and a really, really good dude, but a guy who at the time who liked to have a good time. So we were teeing off at 9 a.m. and Dubinsky wasn't there. And we waited and waited and waited. And it got to a point where, like, look, we're at a private club. We only have so long that we have this place. We actually have to shoot 9 holes of golf.
We got to do this.
Because this is going to air all summer on Saturday night so that we don't have to do live television at 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
So this is our evergreen thing that we do. So we're like, look, we don't have Brandon Dubinsky. So there was this guy named Rob Mixer, great dude, who worked for the Blue Jackets, who's a pretty good stick, but looks as diametrically opposed to Dubinsky as almost humanly possible. And I just said, Mixer, you're in. He goes, what do you mean? I said, you're playing. You're going to play. So he was all nervous and panicky and trying to get some shots in. He had no time to warm up. But again, he was a pretty good player. So we go to the first tee, and I just interview him like he's Brandon Dubinsky.
You call him Dubinsky.
I call him Brandon Dubinsky. We played the entire first hole without a reference to him not being Brandon Dubinsky. We even supered him on the television, Brandon Dubinsky. Dubinsky showed up for the second hole. We made no reference of it.
That it was a new guy.
No. It was one of the funniest things ever. And, of course, everyone's like, wait, who is this? Why is this? And then the next hole, hole 2, by the time Dubinsky got there, and come to find out, he's from Alaska, so he was flying in and got in late.
Dubinsky.
Blah, 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 whatever. But Doobie didn't get there in time. Great nickname, by the way. But Rob Mixer served as Brandon Dubinsky.
I feel like Rob Mixer and Rob Bass should have gotten together, formed some type of a super band.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Now you're talking.
By the way, college football tonight, Virginia, Georgia Tech, Troy, South Alabama. And don't go to sleep on Troy, South Alabama, 5-2 v. 5-1.
Yeah, the other one's tough. Virginia and Georgia Tech?
Georgia Tech.
Yeah, can't sort
garbage.
it out. Yeah.
We got the National Football League tonight, gentlemen. We got Guess the Lines coming up.
We do. Today. I just don't like that I can't flip around. Like I hate that it's a dedicated channel.
Thursday's become one of my favorite nights.
Are we actually calling this a good football game tonight?
No. I mean, it's a football game.
Deandre Hopkins is back. I have him in like every league.
Well,
and I'm pumped to watch
personal interest.
That's right.
Like, the Saints are neutered. They don't. No one's playing.
No big deal. I know the Miz is over there crying somewhere as his team is just dreadful, awful. And this week we don't have Justin Jefferson. We don't have Gabe Davis. Bye weeks.
Yeah, a lot of bye weeks this week. I've noted. My whole team's on buys.
And
we're punting.
And here's our next wave of wide receivers. We're just going to roll out a T. Higgins at you. We're going to roll out a DeAndre Hopkins at you. No big deal.
No big deal.
No big deal.
Come in waves.
They come in waves.
What's the name of the team? Can you say it?
Yeah, we're the Sooning Snakes.
Sooning?
Soon Inc. Like
Soon
Soon
Inc.
Incorporated.
Okay.
Because we call each other Soon, and then Soon Inc. and then Snakes. Because one time we made a great trade 8 years ago, early on in the league. And Miz said that we're like a bunch of just snakes in the grass, and we just
you and
praying. Yeah, it's me and Vince Conde, friend of the show.
Oh, okay, all right, very
Soon.
good.
Me and S are
He can't shoot, though.
Me and S. We can't say that team name.
No, the Waffle's got no release.
Yeah, it's me and the Waff.
Waffle's got no release. Sad.
Nothing.
I don't know what happened.
He's got a basketball academy though. He's training young shooters.
I hope they don't see that video.
No, that was not a good day for him. But me and S have a team as well that name is
Can't
for the Funk Man.
Oh, God bless the Funk Man.
God
that was
the
a fun
Funk Man
to bring back the Funk Man.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the best.
Hey, should I get a watch? It's better than that.
It is.
Which watch do you like? No, just give me Funk Man jokes.
That's
and
all
we're gonna be great.
All right. Should I get a watch? What a ridiculous! I was in the middle of things.
It was right now. It was at this time of the day.
Which one is this one better than this one?
I don't know.
I don't
Which
know,
one do
dude.
you like?
Kind of subjective, brother.
Yeah, get the one you like. Taste is subjective.
It's all the same.
It's
Whatever
great.
you want. Doesn't affect me. Here's your injury update from yesterday from the Ravens' point of view. Mark Andrews, Calais Campbell, Ben Cleveland, J.K. Dobbins, Devin Duvernay. All of those for rest. Morgan Moses, Marcus Peters were rest as well. Pat Ricard did not practice. Lamar Jackson. It's a lot of. It's basically their whole team rested.
Yeah.
They're going to be. I don't see anything big coming out of there. Do you?
The guys
No, you don't know about Morgan Moses. Morgan Moses left the game with a heel injury in the second quarter against the Giants, and their backups, Patrick McCarry or Daniel Fallaley, are bad. So that would be a significant one. I think they're optimistic, obviously. And then just defensively, you don't know who they're going to get back. Justin Houston's been out the last 3. He's on that list, I would imagine.
He is, yeah.
Out. Did not practice.
Lamar Jackson, Justin Houston, Rashad Bateman, Ronnie Staley,
Justin
limited,
Houston did not practice.
limited. Justin Houston.
Okay,
was a limited.
So then he could maybe be back. The guys they haven't had Bateman in 2 weeks. They haven't had Houston in 3 weeks. So those would be returns. I mean, Lamar's playing.
I would say this.
Yeah, they're all playing.
Other than the two, obviously, Andrews and Lamar first, then Andrews, most important. And then Bateman, I would put third because I don't think it even matters who the running back is right now. But if Bateman plays, then that would give them a nice boost.
He's averaging 22.1 yards a catch this year.
He's a dude. I told you that when he played at Minnesota, he's an absolute dude. So that would be something that bears a little bit of watching. Our guys getting back out there. You did see the comments from Joel Bitonio today, echoing a lot of the statements from John Johnson yesterday about preparedness and those type of things. This is a young team that feels like is teetering, and you have veterans, leaders who know what it takes to win in this league. 2 of them, in Bitonio and Johnson, saying, "Yeah, we're
not doing it." And the proof is that we're 2-4. That's the proof that we're not doing it. So we've got to be better. And I think part of it is you're always looking for answers, right, when you're not achieving the way that you should be. And I think that that's an easy place to start, right?
Yeah.
We're blowing aside because we're not prepared well enough. It's something that, for example, like what's 7 times 6? 42. Should be right there. And because you've prepared, you've done it your whole life, and now it's second nature. But when you're not as prepared, you might be 7 times 7. Let me see if I get 7.
Yep.
And 14 and 21 and I'm like 28, 35. Oh, 42. Yeah, like that's the difference between blowing a coverage and not. So I think that's what they're saying. You can always do more, right? It can be it's got to be somewhat of a lifestyle. I think we've been saying that for a while. It has to be a lifestyle to want to maximize your ability. Some of that's innate, and some of that will be through a work ethic that is acquired or taught in terms of, seeing guys. Joel Bitonio got to start his career in between the Hoff and Alex Mack. So I'm sure he had tremendous role models in his room of, look, this is what it takes.
Yeah.
Especially in the Hoff's case. We heard his, dissertation on what it takes. I think there's a reason in our receiver room that a guy like Donovan Peoples-Jones is progressing. Great coaching from Chad O'Shea.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a guy in Amari Cooper who's like, this is what it takes.
Well, and who do you have last year?
Last year you had Odell and Jarvis,
Landry.
right? And you had those guys.
This is how you practice.
Of course, this is what it takes. And so
you couldn't get Jarvis off the field.
That's what you need, I think. And sometimes something for these guys, we need that. We need that a swift little kick in the pants. And because this season is on the brink, no doubt.
Yep.
Now, if you had said, who cares what the records were? If we were 5-1 and both the Ravens and the Bengals were 6-0, now you'd say, okay, we can still make the wild card. But the same scenario would be true. You play both of them, you win them both, you're first place in the division, you lose them both. Now you're 2 games back of both of them. You're not really in a good spot. You lose one of them, you're going to be most likely 2 games back of that team. So it's all here. I don't know that you can just flip a switch. It's got to be something that I think is like ingrained in you and something that you've built and stacked upon week after week after week. But it is troubling that that's being said. The good news is go out and win, and you can fix it.
Yeah, results fix it. I think what's interesting is, like, were there any, and I didn't see it, I know you didn't see it either, there were no hints that anything was going to be amiss in camp or through the early part of the season. It was only, it really all, did you see it in camp? I mean,
no.
You're teetering. Or did I miss something in camp? I didn't see it.
No, and I felt like we competed well with the Eagles. It was clear to me that the Eagles were more physical than we were.
No question. Especially on the 2 lines of scrimmage where it was.
Yeah, but we still, I thought, had a pretty good accounting of ourselves in those joint practices. So, no, it wasn't like when we went up to Buffalo and it was in 2015 and it was like, we're going to get smoked. It wasn't like that. So, no, there wasn't any indications. And again, all the questions were on the offense. And maybe that was part of it. We weren't worried about the defense.
I think that's it.
We were only looking at the offense, and Jacoby Brissett's been, before last week, great.
I think you're probably right. I think what probably happened was we knew that we had everybody back defensively, or most everybody back, and that the unit would actually be improved.
Yeah.
And it was one of the better units in the NFL the last 3 quarters of the season last year. And so there was no reason to even pay close attention to what was happening there. And maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's what seeped into this whole operation. It's hard to say. You mentioned Season on the Brink. The Bob Knight book. John Feinstein wrote that, Season on the Brink.
That's right.
Pedro, big Bob Knight fan? I feel like he would be.
Zago was a monstrous Bob Knight fan. Huge fan of the General Robert Montgomery Knight because Zago did his, I think, got his doctorate at Indiana.
Oh, okay. All right. So there was
some time
Pedro
there.
had to be an admirer. I mean, their style would be very similar based on what.
There's no doubt. Yeah.
I have no idea how this came up, and at some point I have a text out to Fontana, but Fontana posted this from Joel Bitonio's presser today. Obviously, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of players talking about a lot of newsworthy things.
Yeah.
This might be the biggest one. Joel Bitonio said he had Thanksgiving dinner at Joe Thomas's house early in his career. I don't even know how this topic came up, but clearly it did. The meal memory is when a chef prepared some duck that Joe had shot. Joel got a BB of the bird the bird shot in his piece that he almost ate.
Okay.
So
that happens.
Joe didn't prepare it.
No, but that happens.
That happens.
You know, when we would hunt the birds.
It happens.
Like you get a little bird shot in there, that'll happen. You know, shotgun. You know, that's the way that it works. There's a bunch of little BBs that hit them, and there you go.
How did the Thanksgiving conversation come up today?
This is what I think. This is how I think it got there. How to be a pro, all of that.
I learned from Joe Thomas.
Joel said it. I learned from Joe Thomas. I remember him inviting me to my house for Thanksgiving, and we actually had duck, and then it led to all of that. I wonder what type of duck the Hoff is serving. Is that because there's like the white ones that you see that are like the domestic guys, and then there's the mallards.
Do you shoot mallards and eat them?
You do. People do. I wouldn't. But
what do you get what kind of a duck is it when it's served like a fine French restaurant? When I think of duck, I think at a French restaurant, or maybe a little raspberry
Chinese
sauce or something like that. Peking duck. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you get a little bit of that. I assume that's like the white duck, like the domestic duck that's fattened up.
It's
like you've seen those guys.
Yeah, just waddling around. Sure, like a little duck.
I don't think you're getting mallards.
I would hope. I don't. It doesn't feel that way. They're green heads.
Yeah, I like those guys. They're in little suits. They're little gentlemen.
On the gentlemen, yeah.
Have any of those guys ever messed with you, ever? Of course not.
No.
They know their place. I'm good. They got a nice suit on.
They mate for life.
That's it. I like those guys a lot. Yeah. What type of duck?
In the little mini lake that's our house sits on, we've got there's always duck butts when they're down there.
Yeah.
When they go dive down, and there are little duck butts floating around the top of the surface.
All right. It looks like what we're talking about. Yeah, that's what I thought. These guys. This is what you're getting. Those guys.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, that's the guy. That's what you're getting there.
I told you that, but starting to cook, now that I found that duck fat, if you make anything
that duck fat, I like that.
Yeah, making like a French stew, just adds a layer of just complexity.
Deliciousness.
Yeah, delight.
Here's your this week's example of how Ohio State is different than everybody they play real quickly before we get out of here in this first segment. They play Iowa this week. Iowa has 3 receivers on their roster with at least 3 catches this season. Conversely, Ohio State has 3 receivers on their roster with at least 5 touchdown catches this season. One of those who does not is Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's the best receiver in the country because he hasn't played because he's been injured. So that's what you have to look forward to on that. What you have to look forward to on this fine program is a one-on-one with the Chief. It's coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily. Very happy to be joined now by the friend of the show, number 1 ranked, the Chief, David Njoku. Chief, what's kind of the mindset right now? Things have not gone the way you guys have wanted. Lost 3 in a row, but you get Baltimore now, Cincinnati the next 2 weeks, division games, you're 1 game out, and still very much, if you win these ones, control your own destiny.
Absolutely. We're not going to feel sorry for ourselves. We're going to attack every day, like the way we should. We got to be accountable. We got to execute. We got to just do all the small things right, and we will be just fine.
You guys had been humming as an offense last week, obviously not as good against the New England Patriots. Was it anything they did, or was it more things that you guys did or did not do?
No, they have a great defense, but I feel like in most cases we were hurting ourselves, just like the small things that we made mistakes on or mental errors on or whatever. So like I said, we just got to just take a deep breath, and attack every day. Just be more present, Today we're gonna worry about today, tomorrow, and then so forth.
For you personally, last 4 weeks, you've been on a heck of a run catching the football. Slow in the early season, you didn't say much, and then all of a sudden, you had the 3 straight games with 5 catches or more than 70 yards. You have had at least 50 yards in 4 straight games. How's that connection with Jacoby Brissett kind of started to click?
Yeah, we're clicking for sure. We have really good chemistry. He's a great leader, and obviously a great quarterback. So just got to keep building off of the previous weeks.
For you personally, have you taken on more of a leadership role this year?
Yeah, I think so. Just in terms of just trying to help the younger guys, just bring them with us. Yeah, so just whatever I can do to help the team, be successful is what I'll do.
Would you say you more lead by example, or are you starting to get a little bit more vocal? Because look, the fact of the matter is, you've been here as long as anybody. You are one of the best players on this football team. You do it absolutely the right way, and I think that attitude is something that would be helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. Whatever it takes, actions, words, whatever I can do to help anybody on the team, just show their best self is what I'm here for. So, yeah.
All right, let's talk about this Ravens team, because it's a big game, division game, an opportunity. They're 1 game ahead of you right now, chance to even that up and get the head-to-head win, go to 2-0 in the AFC North. What have you seen from them when you put them on in preparation?
Great team, great offense, great defense, and great special teams. So we have our hands full. It's going to be a great test, a great challenge, and I'm very excited.
How close do you think you guys are to kind of putting it all together?
This is ongoing talk of how close we are, and everything. And initially,
1 minute.
I was talking about, we're very close, but talking doesn't really do anything. We have to show that we are putting it together. We put it together. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna focus on what got to do to execute better, to be better, on all sides of the ball, and just get the job done.
Do you feel like there's a sense of urgency?
There's always a sense of urgency, especially in the NFL.
30.
So one thing that I live by that helped me get to where I am was just the thought of nobody being safe. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're not doing your job to a high, standard, you're not safe. And even if you are, you're not safe. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like that mentality that I have
10.
Helps me, push harder, go the extra mile of doing whatever I got to do to be a better player.
Well, we see it on the field. Thanks so much for the time. Best of luck on Sunday.
Thanks.
You're up.
Rumpke Waste Recycling, family-owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more.
Yeah.
He's got to have a big one.
Yeah, you need him. And here's a fun factoid for you. David Njoku on the season, 27 catches, 347 yards, 1 touchdown. 27 catches, 5th among all tight ends, 347 yards, 4th among all tight ends. But his 340 yards receiving since week 2 are 2nd in the NFL, behind only Mark Andrews at the tight end position. Mark Andrews is so good, it's absurd, by the way.
He's one of those guys, I think, because they don't throw it as much as Kelsey and certainly Kittle, even when he was at his peak, that I don't know that he gets the attention, but he should, because he's sensational.
So just run through a few things for you.
Yeah, please.
7 touchdowns in his last 6 games against the Browns.
God.
In 8
That's what it feels like.
8 career games versus Cleveland, 40 catches, 510 yards, 7 touchdowns.
Okay.
This year, 39 catches, 455, and 5, almost on the Ravens. He is 2nd amongst tight ends in receptions and touchdowns, tied for 1st in yards, all with Kelsey. His next 100-yard game will be the 10th of his career, which will be the most in Baltimore Ravens franchise history for anybody. He's tied with Mark Clayton right now. Mark Clayton was like a meteor. He had like one really good year, and then it was gone.
Oklahoma guy too, right?
Yeah. Son of Mike Clayton, right? No?
Well, there was a Mark Clayton and Mark Duper who both played for the Dolphins.
Oh, son of that Mark Clayton, then, yeah.
So they named him right ran it right back?
I thought so. I thought that there was a relation there.
All right, I've also done
MC Jr.
Could be. Getting some reconnaissance. This from our buddy AK, who's up in Alaska. He went duck hunting last weekend in Alaska, and he said, let me tell you, they're going to be full of buckshot when they hit the plate. He also said there's no way Hoff is getting domestic ducks to eat. If he got them himself, I guarantee you they're wild. And as I was doing some quick research, I think if you are going to hunt a wild duck, you are hunting a mallard.
Wow.
Which doesn't feel ideal. Like you
No.
guys know how I feel about birds, but like
Yeah.
I honestly think like I could have a mallard as a pet.
You could.
Don't you think? Like
I've
have
got
them around
mallards
on.
in my backyard in the retention
They're
pond.
gorgeous.
They come up. They actually like hang out with my dogs.
Yeah, they're not aggressive. They're
No.
just chilling, man.
And my dogs are like, hey, these things are kind of cool.
Cool little heads, man. They seem like they're nice. You know, if I got one on a leash, like Ziggy from The Wire when he was walking around with that duck,
Why not?
didn't last long. Giving it whiskey. That's probably the reason.
Well,
Apparently
it's frowned
based on a
upon.
true story. That whole scene. What are you looking up still? You're
Trying to
Mark
see if they're
Clayton
related.
lineage?
I don't think they are.
Oh boy.
I don't think so.
No, not.
Not.
Amazing to also be a Mark Clayton, though. But he actually, here's the craziest part, is the Mark Clayton did actually name his firstborn son Mark Gregory Clayton II. So
There is a Mark
that
Clayton.
Mark Clayton does have another Mark Clayton. It's just not this Mark Clayton.
It's not this Mark Clayton. And initially you said Michael Clayton, which is a
Right.
fantastic movie. Right? Am I wrong? It's very rewatchable.
Very.
It's fantastic. Hey, Cleveland Browns fans, skip the chore of laundry. Enjoy life, not laundry. Tide Cleaners offering 30% off dry cleaning for the month of October. Be entered to win 4 VIP Browns tickets to an upcoming home game. Just mention promo code Browns. Visit TideCleaners.com to find the closest location to you. Some exclusions may apply. You'll hear from our offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt. We'll do that side of the matchup coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And the Bath Authority gives you that bathroom of your dreams. Why not transform your current bathroom into a custom bath for a spa-like experience? They can do it for you in about a day at the Bath Authority. Let them make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is our area's premier bath and shower remodeler. Their experts and factory-trained installers can help you. And if you call them right now, you get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. That number is 216-220-8399 or go to thebathauthority.com. It's where affordability meets quality. Superior products with expert installers at the Bath Authority. 216-220-8399. $500 off right now if you tell them that Bo sent you on that. And now we start our matchup previews with our offense versus their defense and our offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt.
You guys are down.
Guys up low, wise. It felt like they couldn't get to that second level like he normally does.
Yeah, that was disappointing. You know, we didn't play our best, really across the board. You know, we couldn't get the run going like we like to, like we usually do, and that's credit to them. That's a good defense. They're a stout front for sure, and they played well, and we didn't that day.
With Wyatt going through this calf injury now, I mean, I know he told us he's probably unlikely to be able to play this week. I guess just how much of a loss was he throughout the second half of that game on Sunday, and would he be if he has to miss some time here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you'd like to have your 5 starters in, so anytime you lose one of those guys, it's it's a loss. But Yeldon will step in and play well if he can't go, and hopefully he'll be back soon. But we like our guys, our starters, as well as our backups. We expect them to play at a high level when they get in the game.
Hey, Alex, on the first interception by Jacoby, does he need to throw that sooner? Like, was Farrell open early in the play and he just think we waited too long?
A combination of decision making, just playing smarter that early in the game, not trying to make a high level of difficulty in the throw. Yes, if he'd have thrown it further, it may have gotten there, but really just want to make sure we take care of the football moving forward, and that's one I know, he wasn't happy with his decision to try that so early in the game.
So that's not the number one read there?
It's part of the read. It's part of the read for sure. But, the big thing we ask for in the keeper game is to not have negative plays, whether it be sacks or incompletion is okay in that situation. So looking back, just throw it away, get back in the huddle on second down.
Off that, Alex, it seemed like Jacoby was trying to press downfield a little bit more, even to a point of passing up wide open guys underneath. Was that just a game plan for the week, or is that something that he was just seeing out there?
Yeah, I think sometimes that's what you see. That's what you do. You see somebody open, you pull the trigger. We'll get back into the completion mindset moving forward. I think that's when we play the best offensively, is when we're just taking what's there.
In a game like that, where the run game isn't where you want it to be, but you're looking back and preparing for the weeks ahead, does that give you confidence to keep going with that run game even when it's looking a little slow? Do you feel that you can move it forward in the games to come?
Yeah, I think so. I think that game dictated, us to get away from the run game by the score at certain points. Obviously, we want to run it more, get the ball in those guys' hands, and use that offensive line and our tight ends up front. Sometimes the game doesn't allow that to happen. So I know we're very confident in the run game. We feel great about where we are. We just had a step back last week and continue moving forward to think we'll have success in the run.
The 4 of 12 between Jacoby and Amari, what do you attribute that to mostly?
Just wasn't their day. Really, they have a good bond. They have a real good relationship, but where they are, they communicate really well. Sometimes it just doesn't come to fruition.
Thanks. When you look at that Ravens defense, first of all, is their run defense similar to what the Patriots do? As far as
it can be, it can be. The fad throughout the league right now is teams playing multiple fronts out of multiple personnel groupings, and that seems to have taken off, across the league. So I think we'll see 5 on the line fronts. We'll see nickel fronts that give you an odd structure and make it look like a 3-down base front. So seen a lot of that this year. We just have to be ready to adjust and make sure we're communicating what structure of defense we're running against.
And in the back end, what do they do so well to create the number of takeaways that they have?
Very talented back end, for sure. The corners are outstanding players. Clark's a really good safety, plays down in the box. They played in that scheme for a while together now, so they're playing well as a unit.
Your approach when they have so many takeaways, 8 interceptions, 4 recoveries, what's your mindset as you head into the game against that?
Overemphasis on ball security. It's always our number one goal in the game is to come out with 0 giveaways. We got
1 minute
this week.
Coach, what's the biggest challenge for you to get the most out of your guys, not just when they're here, but when they're away, and getting that game plan ready when they're away from the facility?
Yeah, just, I know there's been a lot of talk about commitment this week, and, it's what can you do extra? What can you do more that we haven't done to this point moving forward? That's kind of what we've talked about as a unit, as a group. There's those extra
30.
The playbook at night, watch some tape, whatever that is. Communicate with your fellow teammates about certain plays, whatever that could be. Let's find a way to just make improvements this week.
What about your younger receivers? David Bell, Anthony Schwartz, Michael Woods. How are they coming along, and what more do you need to see from them over the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think David Bell's fit right in. He silently made plays when we've asked him to. The ball finds him when he's open, and he catches the ball and make
coming back.
Good to see Mike Woods get into a game last week for the first time. Had a catch. So these young guys got to step up and come on, and they feel good about where they're at.
You're up.
All right, there's AVP at the podium. We went over some of the specifics of the matchup. I wanted to run this by you because I think 6 games, this too much feels true to me, and especially will be true on Sunday. We have to dictate the script. We are not a chase offense. It's not what it is. We've got to score early. We've got to have success in the first half of games. That way we can stay in games.
Yep.
If it goes the other way, what happens is what happened in the game on Sunday, where it's really uphill because it's just not how we're made as currently constructed.
No, and that's a tough part with the Baltimore Ravens. They have scored first in every game they've played this year. They've been ahead or tied at the end of the first quarter, the second quarter, and the third quarter in every single game that they've played this year. They have not allowed a single point on an opponent's opening possession this year. They're the only team that does it, not even a field goal. And so, yeah, this is a tough matchup, but you're right. We've got to dictate it. And now this is a team that has done historically pretty well against the Browns, and especially Nick Chubb. He's been under 100 yards rushing in 5 straight against Baltimore. His only 100-yard game of his career was Week 4, 2019, when we had that big win in Baltimore. He ran for 165 and 3 touchdowns. The other 7 games against the Ravens, averaging 41 yards, 3.6 yards a carry, and has just 2 total touchdowns. And you go last year, in Baltimore, 8 carries, 16 yards for Chubb, 7 rushes, 20 yards for Hunt. Even in the win at home, 17 carries, 59 yards for Chubb, 2 rushes, 5 yards for Kareem Hunt. So they're going to be big up front. They're going to get around that line of scrimmage. They're going to dare us, to try to beat them through the air. And they feel like, look, even though our pass D so far this year is 28th in the league, 267.7 yards a game, we're going to get some interceptions. We know that. We got takeaways right now. They've got 8 picks, 4 fumble recoveries, 12 total takeaways, third most in the league. They have a takeaway in 8 straight games, the longest streak in the NFL, 16 takeaways the last 8 games, which is the most in the NFL. They've got 2 young defensive tackles who are playing well. Justin Matabuke already has 2.5 sacks this year, which is a career high and leads the Ravens. They have Travis Jones, was a name that was bandied about for the Browns quite a bit, who has started to become a big player. Last week, career high 4 tackles, had his first sack of his career, a tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits, and it was his first start against the Giants. So not bad for their 3rd-round pick. Rushing the passer, you still got Calais Campbell, the 6-time Pro Bowler. He's got 2 sacks this season. You've got Odafe Owe out of Penn State, their 1st-round pick a year ago. He only has 1 sack so far this year, but he has a team-high 18 pressures. Campbell has 17, second most on the team. Give you some context. 18 and 17 would be 2nd and 3rd on our team because Myles Garrett has 28 on this season. He only played 5 games. Jason Pierre-Paul, the veteran, is with them.
Still around too, yeah.
Still around. He's got a sack. He started the last 3 games for him on the season. They've got Justin Houston, who's missed the last 3 but had 2 sacks in the first 3 games. If he can come back, obviously he still knows how to get to the quarterback. He's got 104 career sacks. Jason Pierre-Paul's got 92.5 career sacks. Calais Campbell, 95.5 career sacks. They got 3 guys with over 90 sacks in their careers there. We have nobody on our roster with that many. And, in fact, we have many people who have 0.
That's right.
For their career in our defensive end room. Linebackers, Patrick Queen, 38 tackles, 2nd on the team. Great blitzer. He already has 2.5 sacks and a forced fumble, 10 pressures. He's got an interception. The forced fumble I mentioned, 2 tackles for losses. He does have 8 missed tackles, though, which is the most on the Ravens, and he's still a liability a little bit in coverage, but having a very nice season. Then you go to the back end. It's the 2 corners, Marlon Humphrey, a 2-time Pro Bowler. Marcus Peters himself is a 3-time Pro Bowler. So these are guys who have, can pick the ball off. Humphrey, 11 career interceptions. He led the NFL with 8 forced fumbles in 2020. Weird stat for a corner, but so it's something to keep an eye on. And then Marcus Peters, he has a pick already, 5 passes defense. They play 3 safeties. 30% of the time, dime, number one in the league. And those safeties are Chuck Clark, who leads the team with 40 tackles. He's been a 4-year starter. Geno Stone is now starting. He's not so great in coverage, better against the run. He's starting because Marcus Williams, their big free agent signing from the Saints, is out. And then Kyle Hamilton, the rookie, now that I dug in that I could answer your question better, has been a huge liability in coverage, giving up 88% completions, 2 touchdowns, a rating of 158.3 when targeted. And in fact, in the season, only has 12 tackles all year, and he's only playing 38% of their snaps, no starts. So
that's wild how it just hasn't clicked for him yet.
It has not clicked. He was so good.
Really good at Notre Dame.
So
yeah.
They're big up front, as we talked about. They've got, Travis Jones is 334. Broderick Washington, who plays a lot for them up front, he's 314. Matabuke is 293. He plays that 3 technique. And then on the edges, though, that's where they're a little lighter. Owe is 257. You want to run right at him. Pierre-Paul, Houston, they're both 270. So bigger guys who can a little sturdier, but neither one have ever been known to be run defenders. Maybe Pierre-Paul back in his Giants days, but Justin Houston, always a speed guy. So, yeah, we've got to try to get after them. From a coverage standpoint, their number one coverage is cover 3, 27% of the time. That's 20th in the league, so not a ton of it. They play really a lot of everything. They are, as I said, 80% of the time in nickel or dime. That is the new base defense in the NFL. They've got 15 sacks, tied for 11th. They had 4 last week. They have 11 sacks in their last 4 games, and they have 4 games this season of 3 or more sacks. So they will come after you. They will bring the pressure, cover 0. As I said, no points on the opening drive. And then here's one thing to note. Fourth quarter, pass defense, 552 yards and 6 touchdowns allowed in the fourth quarter alone of games, which is just a wild stat. It's the reason why they're 3-3 despite going into the fourth quarter with a lead or tied in all 6 games. Never trailing.
Gibby wants to know, give him an X factor for this week. Who's somebody who you'll have your eye on other than the normal? Who needs to have a big game?
Well, we've got to be able to run the ball, so I think that's important. So then the X factors become, how does Yelda Froholt fill in for Wyatt Teller at right guard? Did a good job last week. But I'll give 2. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think, is a little bit of an X factor. He's had at least 50 yards in 4 straight games. Last year against them, had 5 catches for 90 yards in our last meeting with the Ravens. So I think that's a little bit of an X factor. They're going to give a lot of attention to Amari Cooper. And then I'll actually say a third receiver, because if, Humphrey and Peters are occupied with Donovan Peoples-Jones and Amari Cooper, maybe Michael Woods. Michael Woods showed me some.
Remember
1 catch,
him,
15 yards. Remember him from training
First
camp?
week of camp?
David Bell for the season, he's played a lot.
Mm-hmm.
To have 6 catches for 68 yards on the season just feels like it's a lot of empty reps out there. Now maybe he's doing stuff that's opening things up for other people, but it feels that way, whereas Mike Woods has a little bit of juice to him, so I like him. And then it'd be nice to see, Harrison Bryant, Pharaoh Brown, one of our other tight ends, have a nice day. Brown had 2 catches for 21 yards, but, we got to get these guys into the end zone. That's what's wild about our team right now. So Amari's got 4 touchdowns. The Chiefs got 1 touchdown receiving in terms of what Jacoby's thrown for on the season, because he's thrown 6 touchdowns on the year, and one of them has been to Kareem Hunt. So that's 4-1-1. DPJ, no touchdowns. Schwartz, no touchdowns. Bell, no touchdowns. Harrison Bryant, who has had 3 scores each last year, nothing. So maybe getting somebody else involved that hasn't gotten into the end zone yet would be good. And then it's kind of the same thing, when we'll get to our defense. But one of these guys, like Alex Wright, Isaac Rochelle, Isaiah Thomas, all don't have a sack. Taven Bryan, he's got 10 pressures. He doesn't have a sack. Perion Winfrey doesn't have a sack. Togiai's got half a sack. Jordan Elliott's got 1 sack. It's like Miles and then nobody else.
Yeah.
Especially without Clowney. We need Clowney.
Tough to go about your business that way, and we'll get to the defensive side of the matchup. You'll hear from Joe Woods in just a minute. When a medical mistake causes you injury, call the medical malpractice attorneys at 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk & Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. As I mentioned, Joe Woods coming up. We'll guess the lines coming up as well in this hour of the program and go behind enemy lines. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Well, there's a new way to cheer on your Cleveland Browns with the help of your favorite four-legged companion, Barking Backers, presented by Milk Bone, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. And now we do the matchup on the other side, the most critical, our defense versus their offense. Here's your defensive coordinator, Joe Woods.
The rate will keep you up at night.
You're down. 5.5 here.
Have last year against him. Did you feel like you figured something out, or was that just kind of a game that he made some mistakes, it went your way? Just in general, how did you feel about how you did last year with him?
You know, looking back at the games, definitely felt like we played better. And it comes down to scheme. It's really, for us, we always look at it as a rules game because of the unique run game. The quarterback, they make you play with 11. So you don't want to get too complicated with what you're doing. You just want to make sure you're sound. And they have so much offense. So when you watch it, I mean, you're going blind. You're not going to get it all, but you're going to get a good piece of it.
How do teams try to scheme to maybe find that one guy on defense that they can expose? Do they do that, or because of the system that they run that they're not necessarily trying that?
No, I think they do what they do. They're going to look at our defense, package their run game, what they want to run against us. In the passing game, you can see, you know, they're getting rid of the ball fast. He's making good decisions. He's accurate, but they're also taking their shots down the field. So you really have to be able to deal with everything, but I don't think it's anything specific in terms of targeting guys.
Deion Jones, closer to playing, will he play?
You know, we're taking it day by day because he's learning the system, getting comfortable with the techniques. Hopefully he plays, but we'll see.
Jadeveon and Denzel, do you expect to have them back this week?
It's the same thing, day by day. So I think JD's going to be out there on the field today, but it's one of those things we have to see how they feel.
Joe, last week you said that this defense has the talent to be top 5 in the league.
Yes.
You know, given the way you guys played last year, right now you're ranked 31st.
Yeah.
What do you make of that through 6 games?
I did not know that. No. No, I did. I read it. I honestly, you just look back and, you know, in games, like you see the scores, you see the yards, but it really comes down to like 3 or 4 plays. You know, if you make a play, now you're not out there for the next 8 plays. You don't give it those scores. And I just felt like we've been inconsistent in terms of executing the scheme, in terms of fundamentals. You saw that last week. For us, from a coaching standpoint, there's things, you know, I know you guys asked the question, what are we doing more? What are we doing more? There's things we want to do, but if you're not consistent and playing well, you're really trying to pull back until you can get that. So there's a lot of things to answer your question. We just got to get better.
The perception from the outside, there's a multitude of issues.
Yeah.
You know, how difficult is it to correct any of them when they have an impact on one another? Like, you want to stop the run more, that puts you in tough spots in the passing game, vice versa.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's part of it. And you're referring to last week, you know, we had to be more aggressive to stop the run. I mean, they have a huge offensive line. And I think outside of the third down play, probably 60, 70 yards, which was a big improvement for us. But when you do that, you're in more one-on-one situations. But I have confidence in our secondary. You know, that's my background. I don't have problems matching them up. They hit us made some good throws, caught us in some good coverages. But I believe we can make those plays. But it's a balance of both.
Speak about guys maybe not taking things home with them, and then we hear you're not able to do everything that you want to do. Is that the reason why you're not doing extra stuff?
No, I wouldn't say that. It's really in general. Is when you're playing well, then you feel more comfortable because there's things you do and you say, okay, we did that, had success. Let's add a little twist to it, you know, and you just keep building it and you get your library. But when you're having the issues we have, you got to say, hold on a second. Let's get things fixed first, and then let's get to some things that we feel we're having success with. But in terms of what John said, and somebody just told me, but that's his players learn how to be a professional. And when you have young guys, it's just not what you do in the building. It's like what you do when you go home. So I'm sure that's what he was referring to.
not to use that as an excuse, but is it there not enough veteran guys on that defense to kind of show them the way?
Yeah, no, it's never an excuse. And I don't ever want to come across like I'm making excuses, and I hope I don't do that. It's just everybody has to learn how to do it their own way, whatever that is, whether it's learning from a veteran, whether it's learning from some other guy in the league. It's just what do you do day to day? And we try to help them.
30.
Do in the off season. I have a weekly schedule that I should always give to my guys in terms of what to look at every day, but it's something they'll learn along the way.
How do you coach it, and what are the challenges when a guy like a tight end like Mark Andrews is the obvious number one target for Lamar?
That's why it's tough, right? Let's say that you go and try to double him, now you're short a gap in the run game, and now Lamar's going for 150. So it has to be balanced. You know what I mean? So for us, it's just having enough calls where there's balance in terms of defending the run, and at times having the ability to take away.
You're up.
Is this a Taki game?
I think it's a JOK game. I think it's a Ronnie Harrison game. You know, you go back and you look last year. When you go back and you look at the game last year against this defense, or against this offense, I'm sorry, and I'll focus on the game in Baltimore. Lamar, 20 of 32, 165 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 picks, 17 carries, 68 yards. 17 carries, 68 yards. I'm not much of a mathematician, but that's exactly 4 yards a carry there. That tells you right there that you did a great job. He's averaging 8 yards a carry this season. So we go in and you break it down. All right. You had Ronnie Harrison, team high 14 tackles and an interception.
See, he has that in him.
JOK, 13 tackles, a half a sack, and a tackle for a loss in that one. And so those are the guys that I think you need to step up. And then the game here, Delpit had a team high 11 tackles. You need those guys that you have, your lighter guys who can run around and make plays for you, make plays. And JOK, snaps down to 33 last week. He's missed 9 tackles this year, which is the most on the team. He's struggling a little bit the last few weeks. And so you need him to be good. And you need, Taki is playing well. Taki is the number 18 linebacker at Pro Football Focus. That makes him, one of the top 32, makes him one of the top 18 linebackers in the league. But you think about, 32 teams. So he's playing at a high level, especially against the run. We're playing so much base, though, this year, which is so uncharacteristic, I think, of what we want to be. Mm-hmm. And we're doing that to cover up some of the deficiencies in our ground game, especially since we lost Anthony Walker Jr. And you hope Deion Jones can help you, but he's in that same mold, 227, 6'1", 227. He's more of a coverage guy, 11 career picks, Pro Bowler. He's got 5 100-tackle seasons, so you hope that he can help. But, yeah, this is those guys there at the linebacker position, then the safeties. Ronnie only played 5 snaps last week, season low. You need him in this game. Or DeAnthony Bell. You need a third safety to run around, make some plays for you. But this is kind of why he's here. It's why JOK's here. You need all those guys. But I need an Isaac Rochelle, an Alex Wright, and Isaiah Thomas, somebody to step up. Now, it sounds like we'll have Clowney, which is great news. We said that, and so maybe you're going to play those guys the whole time. And Clowney was excellent last year against the Ravens. He had 1.5 sacks, a tackle for a loss. Miles had a sack both games. He had that sack strip fumble touchdown in the game at home. That was against Huntley, not against Lamar. Actually, it may have been against Lamar. Was it the play Lamar got hurt on? Maybe. Anyway. Lamar only threw 4 passes in that game. Huntley threw for 270 yards and kind of came in relief. But, yeah, it's all hands on deck here. They've got Mark Andrews, who is the primary weapon, so much so that his 39 catches are more than the next 3 guys on the team's receptions combined. They have 38. Duvernay's hit some big plays so far this year. He has 3 touchdowns. You got to watch him. If Bateman's back, he's averaging 22 yards a catch. He's got 2 touchdowns, and he's missed 2 games. So those are the guys you got to watch out for. You can't give up the big plays. That's what I think we need to keep them in front. Lamar will give you the ball. He's thrown a pick in 4 straight games and 5 out of the last 6. He's got 6 picks on the season. He will give you the football at some point, and especially, it's happened a lot in the fourth quarter. 4 picks in the fourth quarter so far this year. Not an easy matchup. They're very good. They're big up front. If Morgan Moses is back, think about their line. Stanley's 315. Ben Powers, the left guard's 340. The center is 305. Zeitler's 340. Moses is 320. If they play one of their backup guys, this Daniel Foley guy's 6'8", 380. Now, he's dreadful. I mean, he gave up 2 sacks in like half of a game. Makari's 310. And then they have Patrick Ricard, who's a 305 extra lineman fullback who's out there. He was on 45 of their 59 snaps last week. So they're beefy, and we are not.
Where was Myles Garrett drafted? Refresh my memory.
First overall.
Where was Jadeveon Clowney drafted?
First overall.
Yeah. You need those guys, and hopefully it seems like we're trending toward back with Clowney. We know Myles will play. So barring something else this week, God forbid, you need them to be elite because you need all of your best players. JOK was a second-round pick, was graded as a first-round pick. At one point this year, he was the number one graded linebacker in all of football.
Yep.
So he needs to play to that level.
He is not.
He's not the last few weeks. No. John Johnson needs to play that level. Ronnie Harrison needs to be the guy to get 14 tackles. It's going to take every bit of that.
Yes.
To beat this team.
Yes.
Because they are able to do the things that have been kryptonite to us. They are able to hit the big play. You had Rashad Bateman with his 22 yards a catch. Yep. They can gash you in the run game with Lamar, and they're mostly Lamar to this point.
Lamar,
but if they get the backs going, look out. So
averaging 8.1 yards a carry.
Right. So it's a problematic matchup. Our best players defensively need to play like that.
Yes.
And if they don't, then it's going to be tough. Very, very tough.
And we need to be better on offense. Jacoby Brissett's got to take care of the football. He's got 5 turnovers in the last 3 games. He had 1 in the first 3 games. We went 2-1 in the first 3. Should have gone 3-0.
You remember we said this last year with anytime we would go around the NFL and we talk about the Ravens, we would say, look, there's a certain way that they have to win. We're like that times 10 right now. There's a very specific roadmap for us each week to win, especially when we play teams like this without the margin for error. There's none here. 0.
Yes.
So you've got a certain roadmap to follow, and if you deviate from it, then you're stuck.
Yep.
And that's something that's going to be a very, very critical thing this week. Buying or selling home with Howard Hanna Real Estate Services, always a winning strategy. If you plan to move this season, they're going to have you covered at Howard Hanna. Every day is game day. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns today. We'll get you some stardom sit-em advice from Dr. Z. Plus, we will guess the spread coming up as well. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Oh, you got to go see my guys at the Bath Authority. They give you that bathroom of your dreams. They'll do it for you in about a day. They can get it done. You need a tub to shower conversion. They got that for you. They got acrylic tubs that insulate and keep the heat in. That's a big win. Let the Bath Authority make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors for that spa-like experience that you know that you want in your bathroom. The Bath Authority is Cleveland's premier bath and shower remodeler. They're experts and factory-trained installers. Call now. You get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. That number is 216-220-8399 or go to thebathauthority.com. It's where affordability meets quality. The largest selection of bath projects. They're all made in the United States. Change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. Superior products and expert installers at thebathauthority.com. 216-220-8399. $500 off if you give them a call right now. Fantasy football this week, week 7. Go ahead, Dr.
Real
Z.
quick, coming out of Baltimore, Jamison Hensley saying 4 players returned to practice after missing Wednesday. Wide receiver Devin Duvernay, defensive end Calais Campbell, right tackle Morgan Moses, and guard Ben Cleveland. Bad news, 4 players remained sidelined. Mark Andrews, knee, Patrick Ricard, knee, J.K. Dobbins, knee, and Marcus Peters, rest. So Marcus Peters should be fine, but interesting there on Ricard and Andrews. Now I expect
feels like Dobbins is down. Feels like
Dobbins
he'll be
could
out.
be down. Yep, and it feels like they will be back tomorrow for the other guys.
Yeah, Andrews would be the one that would be absurdly noteworthy there if that were the way that that ended up going. Week 7. Fantasy football starts tonight. Deandre, you've been telling people for a long time he's back tonight.
He's back
for Arizona.
Yeah, I'm going to roll him because I need to. For
a lot of buys
issues.
this week.
A lot of buys of important teams. I mean, Buffalo is a big team.
Vikings are out this week.
Yeah, so
I've got a lot
no
of those,
Dalvin,
lot of
no
stock
Justin
in those
Jefferson.
guys.
Yeah, a lot of good players. So if you need a quarterback this week, I would give a look on the waiver wire to a couple of the guys. Dak Prescott, if he was cut in your league, I'd pick him up and play him against the Detroit Lions. Jimmy Garoppolo against Kansas City. Geno Smith against the Chargers. And even Matt Ryan against Tennessee would be some guys that I would be looking at there. Running backs. Travis Etienne is on the rise. I think he's a good flex. He's starting to out-snap. Every week his snap percentage goes up. It's kind of like what we talked about with Breece Hall. Like, why don't you just give him more opportunities? And maybe it looks like they might be doing that. You've got – I don't like David Montgomery against New England. I can tell you that right now. Love Breece Hall. Love Kenneth Walker. Those are guys that should be in your lineups. From Andre Stevenson, I mean, the guy's phenomenal, as we've seen, unfortunately, firsthand. And then, hopefully we're going to shut down Kenyan Drake, but I'd understand why somebody would pop him into their lineups. And then going to receiver real quickly, the big names that but I do think, you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's back from injury. Get him into your lineups. I love Michael Pittman against Tennessee. Love my guy, as I mentioned, DeAndre Hopkins ad nauseum. I've said that. I think you keep rolling with him. And I think you can take a shot on like a Brandon Ayuk, couple touchdowns last week, good matchup. Does Chase Claypool get a little more action now? It felt like maybe he was a little bit on the ascent, so that's somebody to keep an eye on as well. And then for streaming, tight ends, defenses, tight ends, give a look to this guy. Not a great name. Daniel Bellinger, if you really need a tight end this week, I think Daniel Bellinger is an interesting one. Hunter Henry as well has come on strong ever since Bailey Zappe's been the quarterback, and I haven't been following the Patriots close enough to know if Mac Jones is back or not. But I feel like Bailey Zappe's
more than adequate.
Just fine. And then defenses, Patriots against the Bears, great stream. Cowboys against the Lions, great stream. Bucks against Carolina would be a great stream as well. And then I think the Steelers against Miami, because are we still sure what's happening with Miami?
Feels like it's going to be Tua is what I was saying.
Is it? Then
week.
I would do the opposite.
NBC
Miami
put
against
out
Pittsburgh.
Their Sunday night press release, and they say Tua's playing.
Okay.
All right, so then opposite, Miami against Pittsburgh.
All right, let's do it. Guessing the lines.
All right.
You've got a total of 14 games again this week.
Okay.
Because of the buys. My expectation for you is 9.
All right.
I need a 9.
That's where I've been living.
And
I mean, it's tough, though.
It is very difficult. All right. New Orleans at Arizona tonight. They
make Arizona favorites in all these games. I'm going to go Arizona -2.
-2.5. This moved actually 2 points.
All right, we'll take it.
It was Arizona 4.5, and now it's down to 2.5.
4.5? Based on what?
I have no idea. Atlanta at Cincinnati. Atlanta
coming off of a big win over the Niners.
Yep.
Have they won 2 in a row?
I'm not sure. They beat us. So they won 2 out of 3.
Last 3.
Yeah. They're the only team to cover every week.
Every week, yeah. Bengals 6.5.
Nailed it. What a start. Lions at Cowboys.
Dallas -8.
Nailed it. -7. 3 for 3.
Okay.
Within one's a win. Indy at Tennessee. Good Lord, he's never started like this, ladies and gentlemen. We've never had this sort of hot start. 3 for his first 3.
Tennessee -1.
Bum, bum, ba, bum. -2.5. Packers at Commies.
Green Bay has not been good, but
They have not covered in 3 weeks.
Green Bay, Taylor, whatever his name is.
Whoever, yeah.
Green Bay -7.
-5. Just missed it.
Oh, God, I'm cold now.
Bucks at Panthers.
I'm overthinking everything.
You are. Go with your gut.
-13.
I hate this one that you missed this. It's -11, and you had the spirit of it.
I was going to say 12.
Yep. Giants at Jacksonville. New York Football Giants at the Jacksonville.
I'm falling apart.
Jaguars. You had all the momentum, and now 3 straight losses after 3 straight wins.
Yeah. Okay, what is it again?
Giants at Jaguars.
Jacksonville. Giants -2.5.
Jaguars -3.
What?
That's right. What?
Okay, I wasn't getting that one.
No. Cleveland at Baltimore.
Ravens -6.
Yep, got it. -6.5. Jets at Denver. Did you see Russ's new ad with the Subway? Like the actual ad?
No.
And him in the outfit?
No.
Danger Russ?
No.
It's a scene, man. 4 up, 4 down.
Jets at Denver.
That's correct.
Denver -1.5.
Nailed it. On the money. Right back at it. Texans at Raiders. Coming off the bye for the Raiders.
Raiders -5.5.
-7.
Ah, God, I was going to say 6, and I was like, but what if it's only 4.5?
Seattle at Chargers.
Chargers -3.5.
-6.5.
What?
Yeah. KC at San Francisco.
Chiefs -4.
Chiefs -2.5.
I'm like only like a half.
You're right off.
All these.
I mean, if it was 1.5, you'd nail it. It's
yeah.
all went to hell. Pitt at Miami.
I don't know. I'm just despondent. Pitt at
Broken.
Miami.
You're broken, beaten, man.
Yeah. Dolphins -8.
Got it. -7.
Okay.
Finally, Bears at New England.
New England -6.5.
That's the Monday nighter next week?
That is. You got it. 7.5.
Thank God I threw that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 and 7. Even Steven.
It was a battle.
That middle was tough on you. The most absurd one to me.
One horrific line. The Jags line's horrific.
The Jags line makes no sense. I don't understand it. So that's one of those ones where everyone's going to say Giants.
Everybody.
So how is it possibly Giants? But yet you can't overthink it.
Right.
Jacksonville's been brutal for a month.
Brutal.
There'll be a ton of Giant fans at that game. I don't even know if there's even any such thing as home field advantage in the NFL.
There's going to be all the money in the world on the Giants, though.
All of it.
All of it.
And so it's like, what are we missing there, man? That was a really hard one for me to wrap my head around. I think there's some – honestly, guys,
it's not a great week.
Guys, just where I was headed, Gibbe. For all of the greatness of last weekend, the College Football Saturday was incredible. The NFL Sunday was awesome. It's not great. There's not – is there a game on here where you're like, I'm stopping what I'm doing? This might – look, it's going to be in the 70s. This might be Fall Fest pumpkin apple cider day for the you of the kids. Outside of our game, which you're going to be dialed into, other than that, there's nothing here you need to see.
So Zagur and I were having this conversation earlier. Our friends in Northwest Ohio not going to get Browns-Ravens.
Okay, so I saw that, and so when we're up at the condo, up at the lake, like even in the preseason sometimes when that used to be an issue and they had to pick one or the other, a lot of times they would go Lions over Browns, and like Catawba, Sandusky, all that area is big Browns.
Correct.
But what is Toledo?
So
I don't know where their loyalties are.
So it was great. When I lived in Bowling Green, you'd get the Toledo stations plus the Cleveland stations. So, like, you could get – if you had a certain cable, you could get every game that you wanted
get them all,
to.
Yeah.
This is a weird twist this week. Lions-Cowboys is the A game for CBS Nance Romo.
The 1-4, hey man, Campbell Lions.
Why?
Well,
that's
because
why
Dallas.
that's bumping Browns Ravens, because the A team
But it's
is
also
going
a 1
at 1
o'clock game.
Here's the one thing I don't understand, though, and I saw some tweets about it from there. When I was at the CBS in Columbus, we could choose Bengals or Browns. Every week, in fact, the general manager would come down and go, what do you think, guys? And the general rule of thumb based on the ratings in Columbus was, unless it was Bengals-Steelers, you showed the Browns. Even when the Bengals were good and we were not, you would still show the Browns because there were more Browns fans in Columbus than Bengals fans. But the combination of Bengals and Steelers would usurp Browns. That was our general rule of thumb. So what I don't understand is I'm seeing stuff from Toledo where people are like, this is the league's decision. And I don't understand why the league would do that.
The Toledo TV people are saying that the NFL has stepped in.
I think they're passing the buck unless something's changed, because in a market you would always choose. You'd always be able to choose. Not any game, but you had a choice of 2 games.
Yeah.
So, I would assume Toledo is very similar to Columbus in that they can pick either Browns or Lions as a team of interest.
Why? So you've got Lions-Cowboys at 1 o'clock on CBS, which is Nance Romo.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs at San Francisco is the 4:25 Fox national game.
Yeah, it's a Fox doubleheader.
Though. They have the doubleheader. Otherwise, Nance Romo would be there.
But isn't it the AFC team? Isn't the
No,
road
remember they got away with that. The last couple of years they went away with that. They
Especially
swapped
this
them out.
year.
Yeah. In the last 2 years or so, they've done less of that. Yes, it used to always be that would be KC at San Francisco would be the Nance Romo game.
Yeah.
My guess is what they did. So their choices are – because, honestly, Lions-Cowboys, that's NFC. I'm surprised. So they're usurping even the old AFC CBS
but
situation.
you have Titans-Colts for first place in the AFC South.
Right, but they're not worried about that. What they're worried about is what can I sell for ratings? What is the majority of the country going to watch? And they're going to have Cowboys and Dak back and all that.
Yeah.
And by the way, they don't have to pay for Tony to get on a private plane to go to Tennessee. Just drive over from his house.
Yep.
So my guess is that's how that works. By the way, it says so much about Nance's ability to live at Pebble Beach because you feel like every flight he takes, CBS is paying private, like NetJets, whatever. Like they're paying for him to fly that way out of Pebble Beach. There's literally nothing. Like 90% of his work is done on the East Coast.
It's worse than flying out of here.
I've flown out of Monterey.
Congratulations on all your success.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big time. It's a big time
for
you.
Yeah. It's a nice little airport.
That's a delight.
It's a real delightful airport, yeah. All right, Browns fans get into First Energy Stadium quicker on game days with Express Access presented by Root Insurance. Enroll for free today to enter through exclusive lanes at each gate. Plus, each game you use Express Access at First Energy Stadium will be automatically entered for a chance to win a Browns autographed item. Go to the Tickets tab in the Browns mobile app to learn more on that. We go behind NB Live with Jeff Zrebeck coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. The official printer partner of your Cleveland Browns. While you depend on your Browns to win, you can always depend on OBM because they can tackle any size office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Let's head behind enemy lines now with Jeff Zrebrek, our good buddy, Browns analyst and reporter at The Athletic on the Twisted Tea Hotline. Brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, an official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Jeff, let's just start with a health report, I guess. There was a laundry list earlier in the week. What is it today in terms of your gut feeling on who's in and who's out over there?
Yeah, it's tough. It's kind of been like this, it seems, for well over a year for the Ravens. But, the one to watch, and I think he's going to play Sunday. I don't think there's any doubt he's going to play, but Lamar Jackson's clearly dealing with something. He's not been on the field for the start of practice for the second straight day. He was listed yesterday, obviously, with a hip injury. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll play. But anytime you're talking about a guy in Lamar Jackson, who's dealing with the importance of him to the offense and how much the ball's in his hands, it's obviously something to watch. Mark Andrews, for a second straight day, is out with a knee injury. He hasn't missed a practice all year before the other day. So that's, has to be something that's bothering him. Yet to feel like that's a concern. At least Harbaugh dismissed it as a concern, but that's kind of the business they're in. And I'd say it's not looking great for J.K. Dobbins. He's missed the second straight practice. He could not play in the second half Sunday against the Giants because his knee tightened up. So I don't think you'd see him. I would say it's looking a little better for their number one receiver, Rashad Bateman, who's missed 2 straight games but has been practicing these last couple of days. So that's a good sign for a Ravens passing game that just hasn't been very productive in recent weeks beyond Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews is simply sensational, though, and that's kind of the offense, right? It's Lamar does stuff running behind Patrick Ricard, or they run behind him, or they throw it to Mark Andrews. But I'm curious, what's kind of the discussion around what's happened kind of in the fourth quarters, not only defensively but also offensively? Lamar struggling last week, 2 turnovers on the final 2 possessions, 4 picks in the fourth quarter. What are people making of that? What do you make of it?
I just think they're making mistakes. I mean, for a long time, this Ravens team was a team that you kind of, not to say they didn't lose games, but you kind of trusted them more often than not to find ways to win and to play well in the fourth quarter. And if they lost, make sure the other team beat them rather than them kind of being the reason they lost. And, Ronnie Stanley said it best after the Giants game. I mean, they're their own worst enemy. It's penalties, it's turnovers, it's defensive miscommunications leading to big plays allowed. It's kind of been a perfect storm. I mean, the defense can't get off the field late in games, and the offense hasn't really taken the brunt of the criticism for it, but it probably passed the point where it should. I think they've had 15 full fourth quarter drives this season, and they've turned the ball over on 6 of them. And, that's not just interceptions and fumbles. They've also turned one on downs. So that's almost 7 out of 15 possessions where they're giving the ball up in the fourth quarter. And that puts the defense in tough spots, and it's tough to win that way. And it's just, penalties. It's been a lack of execution. It's been kind of finding ways to lose, and where – you can't really pinpoint one thing because it's everything, other than really special teams, which has been typically good. Offense, defense, both sides have kind of accountability for it because they've had a lot of issues on both sides and late in games.
Jeff, obviously Lamar just incredibly dangerous as he always is with his feet. I'm curious, in terms of the guys next to him, and specifically about J.K. Dobbins. With sees that he's been cropped up all week on the injury, and there was reports of a re-aggravation of the knee. Where is his health, and what are his probabilities for Sunday?
Yeah, I think we saw it. Even when he came back to practice, you could tell this isn't the J.K. Dobbins that we've seen. It's going to take a little while for him to reach that pre-injury form. I mean, you didn't just have the ACL, you had the LCL, you had, a meniscus tear, you had a hamstring tear. So he dealt with all this stuff. It was such a serious injury, and he wants to play so bad. The kid's competitive, wants to be out there, has a lot of desire, but he's just not himself. And I think the recognition of that Sunday, where he just couldn't go anymore, in the running game was kind of an admission that suggests where he's at, and now not practicing these 2 days is another acknowledgement. A guy that's Dobbins has kind of looked up to and kind of followed is Saquon Barkley. And I think what's significant there is we saw this with Barkley. His first year back, he missed the year, and he comes back, and he just was never the same. He just wasn't running he didn't have the same mobility. He wasn't running with the same power and agility. And that's kind of how I'd best explain Dobbins. I mean, he's still effective enough, but you're just not seeing that game-breaking ability. You're just not consistently seeing that ability to break tackles. And while I still think he can be serviceable and help them and be a contributor, you're just not seeing that form of a number one back that he's capable of being when he's 100% healthy. And the later it gets, you start to wonder whether we won't see that until next year when he has another full year removed from that injury.
So do you expect Kenyan Drake, who had 10 carries over 100 yards last week in the touchdown against the Giants, to be the guy? Is Justice Hill ready to come back? Is Gus Edwards ready to see action?
Yeah, there's no way that Drake, there's a lot of criticism here. Why didn't they get Drake more carries? I think he had only 11 carries or whatever, despite rushing for, 119 yards. I think he'll be heavily involved. Justice Hill, who was their most explosive back earlier in the season until he strained his hamstring, he looks like he'll be ready to go for Sunday. Gus Edwards is an interesting one. I think there's definitely a chance of him being activated Sunday. But if he is, I wouldn't expect him to have a significant role. Here's another guy, hasn't played a game since the 2020 season. So they're going to have to take it easy with him if he indeed does play. And the other element of it is the Ravens have a game Thursday night, the following Thursday. So they have 2 games in 5 days. Can a player, is it wise to ask Gus Edwards to play 2 games in 5 days? I don't know. I think that has to be a consideration here. So I would think you'll get heavy dose of, Justice Hill and Kenyan Drake, and then maybe Gus Edwards is in the mix, or they'll just have, Mike Davis continue that role as the number 3 back. But either way, I can't see the number 3 back getting a ton of touches here unless something goes wrong.
Talk to me about this defense that has also, like the offense, had fourth quarter struggles, especially against the pass. A lot of veterans, obviously. You got 3 guys with more than 90 career sacks on the team, and Pierre-Paul, Justin Houston, if he's able to play this week, and Calais Campbell, mixed in with some young guys. The 2 corners are back coming off of their big injuries. You lost Marcus Williams, who was off to a great start for the season. But what's the identity of this defense? What do they do well? Where are they struggling in your eyes?
I think, quietly, because they've struggled late in games in recent weeks, that's kind of obscured the fact that the defense is playing much better. I mean, look, you couldn't play much worse than they were when they, kicked a 3-touchdown lead against the Dolphins and gave up all those points. But still, I think, for the most part, they held down the Bills, who may be the best team in the league. I think the Giants, what do they have, 230 yards of offense. So they're doing things better. They just got to learn to close games. But where we're seeing improvement is they're just not allowing as many balls to get thrown over their heads. I mean, it was ridiculous earlier in the season. They were just giving up way too many big plays. I think that was a function of, you had some young players. There's still some uncertainty there at the third corner spot after Kyle Fuller tore his ACL in week 1. They're trying to find that guy. They're rotating a lot of young players in that spot, and it seems teams are just picking out that matchup and going to it regularly because they don't want to, challenge Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey as much. So I think there's an issue there. They need to find that third corner. But I think the prominent issue among this group is just no consistent pass rush. It's just, and this has been a problem for a couple of years now. They have some guys. I mean, Odafe Owe, the first-round pick last year, has been a big disappointment this year. I think most people thought he'd break out. Houston has not played much at all, because he's been injured. I think he'll be back Sunday. We'll see what he does. And, Jason Pierre-Paul's still working his way into shape. Again, they have some guys. It's just they haven't been able to get off the field late in games, and that's particularly because they haven't been able to affect the quarterback enough on third down.
Jeff, I wanted to ask you about Kyle Hamilton, the kid out of Notre Dame, who loved him at Notre Dame and felt like he would be another one of those Raven guys. And there's a laundry list of them. They draft them, they plug them, and they're big-time players. But it hasn't been that way. What What level of concern is there over there to his start, and what is the issue you're seeing?
I mean, they're saying there's no concern. I mean, he's a rookie. He's learning a very detailed and complicated defense, and safety's a hard position, to play at and to make the transition at. But, yeah, I mean, you'd certainly like to see more from Kyle Hamilton. He just hasn't been – he made one really big play in the New England win, stripping the ball, and kind of that was kind of a game-saving play for them, so you don't want to totally dismiss that. But it just seems to kind of be fighting it a little bit, I don't know if pressing's the right word, but he seems to be second-guessing himself and reacting rather than just trusting what he's seeing and playing. I mean, he's the guy that kind of figured prominently in that fourth quarter, collapse against the Dolphins where he blew coverage twice and 2 long touchdowns. And it's taken a little while. And regardless of what they say, I think they expected more immediate contributions and him to be a little more consistent early. Obviously, he's a rookie, so you knew there'd be some growing pains. It's taken him a little longer to be that guy than I think they think. I mean, testament is without Marcus Williams now, they're basically starting Geno Stone, who was a former 6th and 7th round pick. But Stone's just more consistent. They trust him a little bit more than Hamilton. And I think Hamilton's a guy that they'd like to use in matchup situations, which I think they'll continue to do, match him up at times against tight ends, move him around, get him close to the line of scrimmage at times. But I still think they're trying to find the best role for him, and they're hoping he just starts playing with a little more confidence. It just seems to me a guy who's been fighting himself a little and questioning himself rather than just relying on his talent and ability.
Yeah, it certainly is. And usually, I wanted to ask you one thing before we get you out of here, pal. So much of the offseason was about Lamar and the contract and all of that. The way he's played, it's obviously we're in the season now and away we go. Is that ever come up over there now, or we're past it and we'll deal with it in the offseason?
Well, no, yeah, not really. I mean, you guys know how it is. Every game is a referendum on Lamar's desire, Lamar's, let's say, his worthiness of getting that type of landmark contract. But that's how it kind of is in the media and with fans. You don't hear a whole lot about it here, but you know what? I'll be honest. It's always more been media speculation because Lamar never talks about it. He doesn't have an agent who's leaking stuff to the media. So I hate to admit it as a reporter, but you know so little about it and the offer and what he's looking for because there's nobody that brings it up. And since he's negotiating the contract and since they're dealing with him directly, the Ravens obviously aren't going to leak anything because they know that that's going to affect the relationship between him. So this is something that's been kept so quiet. Even players ask you about it. The players don't even know unless Lamar just happens to bring it up, and he really never does. So, so there's really not a whole lot of talk about that. It's kind of taken a back seat with everything else going on this year. But I'll tell you what, and this isn't criticism. I mean, Lamar's done so many amazing things for the team. He's great to watch every week. Without him, it's unbelievable. Like you don't know where they'd be. He does so much, but they need him to play better. These last 3 games, he's everyone was anointing him as the front runner for MVP, and sort of these last 3 games, it's just been way too inconsistent. And yes, he's not dealing with a beefed up wide receiver group, and yes, they've had issues around him. However, they need him to hit the gimmies, make the routine throws, make quicker decisions, protect the ball. In all these games, there's been opportunities for Lamar Jackson to sort of put the hammer down and end these games but he's made mistakes and kind of kept the door open for teams. So, I think it comes with the territory. As a franchise quarterback, you're going to get criticized, and I think it's totally fair in Lamar's case. I mean, they need for him to play a little more consistent football, and then I think they'd feel pretty good about where they're at.
From a franchise quarterback to a franchise kicker, Justin Tucker, he's just unbelievable. The game winner was against Cincy. Is that who they kicked the game winner? Where he's like bowing at the midfield, like you just know he's going to make it. Is it something is his greatness even being taken for granted? And I don't mean it to be facetious, but I mean you're talking about a guy who has not missed on 76 straight field goals in the second half or overtime, 61 in the fourth quarter overtime. It's just automatic. Is his greatness? Is it appreciated enough? And just what does he mean for this team? Because he's unreal.
Yeah, I do. You don't want to, or you don't even play. Calais Campbell was saying this. You just hate to take it for granted because it's hard to do. There's a lot of pressure and field elements and weather elements. All that goes into kicking. It's just not easy to consistently jog on the field and put it through the uprights, and not to mention it as other elements. Blocking and holding and snap. But yeah, he missed a 56-yard field goal last week in the first quarter, I believe it was. And he banged it, doinked it off the left upright. It's not like he missed badly, doinked it off the upright. And everyone's like, what's wrong with this guy? What's a 56-yard field goal outdoors? And he's spoiled pretty much everybody. I know it's been said. It's not me that said it, but it's been said before. But, you do wonder, is there anybody better at their specific job? I know we're always talking about kickers' importance, and there's still kind of some people that thumb their nose up at kickers because they're kickers. But you do wonder at times, is there anybody in the NFL better at their particular job than Tucker is at his particular job? And, I guess you go to guys like Aaron Donald and Mahomes, and there's certainly arguments to be made. But you have to think with the level he does it, he has to be in that conversation. I mean, and we're watching a Hall of Fame kicker, and there hasn't been too many of those, but his consistency, the amount of times he's done it in the clutch, and how he's really never lost the level. He's had a couple rough stretches here and there, which a rough stretch for him is missing like one at every handful of kicks, but he's been good, solid. He's been their most consistent, reliable player every year. It's really something to watch.
It's amazing.
Really is, Jeff. Thanks for your time, bud. Appreciate you a great deal.
Always enjoy talking to you guys. Enjoy the game Sunday.
Yep, you too. That's Jeff Zrebeck, of course, Ravens analyst and reporter at The Athletic. There's nothing quite like tailgating. Touchdowns and Twisted Tea. It tastes just like real iced tea because it is refreshing and that 5% kick of alcohol. It's thirst down and gold. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea. Keep it twisted. So much more to come. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans, the Kevin Stefanski Show tonight. Z and Gerard, 7 to 8 on the University Hospitals Cleveland Browns Radio Network. Coach and Donovan Peoples-Jones will join the guy. Jones will join. Jones will join as guests tonight to get you set. We've got Thursday night foosball tonight. Saints at Cards, Dr. Z.
Oh, baby.
30.
Hop is back. Cards. Ram it.
Huge. We're back tomorrow with the scores. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.